going on, guys? It's Adam, aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle TV. As you guys can see, I'm finally home after a week on the road. I'm actually going to update you guys on several things, including a mass exodus and something that should affect everyone in the United States. Something you're going to be seeing very, very, very soon because of what is going on in other countries. We're talking about millions of people potentially coming in the next year, 2 years. We're looking at insane numbers, double what we have been actually watching already. So this is not good as far as I'm concerned. We're going to talk about Ukraine. We're going to talk about Putin and the revolt that they're talking about. And of course, we're going to talk about what has been going on with this whole reverse invasion. And then, of course, we're going to talk about an update, a massive update on the Germany sabotage. They actually said that they were trying to sabotage water infrastructure. So again, they are now saying that it is Russia that is doing that. So first of all, let's talk about Ukraine. I've taken notes on pretty much everything. I've had a lot of time looking at everything that has been coming out. I'll tell you what I think is Ganda and what is not Ganda, and kind of my opinions on what is going on. By the way, thank you guys. Thank you, Montana Mike. Thank you, everybody that made it to this late show. All right, so let me get to the beginning of my notes here. And first of all, let's see here. So Ukraine is reporting its largest surrender. Now, fair warning, the next two stories, we don't know how much of this is Ganda, but we do know that things are being shaken up in Russia right now. Thank you, Laura Gittins. Thank you for joining. So Ukrainian forces reported the largest single surrender of Russian troops since the beginning of the war 2 years ago. A total of 102 Russian servicemen surrendered to a Ukrainian security service unit. Again, the surrender occurred in Russia's Kursk region, where Ukrainian forces have been expanding their cross-border incursion. So if you haven't been following this, essentially Ukraine went in with very few men, as according to them, and they took very small towns and they kind of got this small base going. And this is again what we're being told. Russia did confirm on their end that they have actually incurred into Russia. And now they're saying that there's over 10,000. They have taken several small towns, and that essentially they have even set up camp there, which I'll get to here in a second. They are now actually saying here, hold on, let me make sure that this doesn't take down all of that as well. Okay. So they're actually saying that they have set up a base of sorts. So let me pull this up here. Let's go to this. There we go. The incursion in the Kursk region is seen as a significant factor that could further undermine Putin's authority. Now, this plays a part into the next story, which is basically that people are going to revolt against him because they think he's doing a crappy job. That some are saying that Putin isn't taking care of his country, and that all of these Russians are basically saying, how did you let this happen? It's humiliating. Everything else. But again, we don't know what Russia is actually telling their citizens. They do have the ability to go intranet. They can actually turn off several search engines, and I haven't seen any actual stories about them doing this, but they have turned off search engines on so many different events now that have not been publicized. I'll give you an example that was publicized when Wagner was actually going towards the Capitol, and they did the whole Wagner march. That one, they turned off like 5 or 6 of the major search engines. That meaning that they basically cut off the Russian civilians and the Russian population from learning what was going on or what was being said outside their country. So as far as we know, in that Wagner incursion or march towards the Capitol, they could have been telling them in their news that Wagner was doing a rah-rah parade through the middle of the street. And if you actually look at the video from back then, everybody was cheering and screaming him on. And Western media basically said, showed the clips of this, and they said, oh, well, they're all cheering him on because they all hate Putin. I don't think that all Russians hate Putin. Just like all, Americans hate our former president or the current one, right? Half of them are totally gung-ho for him. So I would say that it's probably split there too, that there's a lot of people that probably don't like him, whatever else. But again, I don't live there, so I don't know. Galimov, a gentleman, suggested that Putin faces a difficult choice to remove troops from Donbass, counter the Ukrainian advance in Kursk, which would weaken Russia's position in Donbass. They said, described Putin as a fanatic, more focused on obtaining new territories than preserving what he already controls, a mindset that contrasts with the broader Russian society's desire for preservation. Which they're also making a point that Russia does want to preserve anything that was actually formerly Russia. There's a lot of Russians and even American Russians that I've talked to. I've done man on the street where American Russians have said they would actually much rather have almost everything that the Soviet Union had at one point. Now, I don't believe all Russians think like this, but again, I have talked to some that actually say they wish that they could peacefully basically have all of this reabsorbed into Russia as it was back when it was Soviet Union. So that whole thing, they're actually now talking about how he might have to actually take troops out of Ukraine to go backwards to get these guys out of Ukraine. What is happening in Ukraine? I bet a lot of this is superganda, and we don't actually know what the truth is. One thing I do know is that if there is confirmation from both sides that they are in Russia and they're doing all of this, that this is a very, very scary kind of situation where things could really get out of hand and really get out of hand fast, especially when we've been talking about tactical nukes, not full-on nukes, the world ends kind of nukes, but tactical nukes that could knock out a city block or knock out a brigade, right? So these are something that they can use according to their laws. They say that they've already had all of the requirements for them to respond, and they would be able to argue to other countries like, hey, we put it in writing. If you hit these targets, we're going to use our tactical nukes. For instance, they actually just said that they may have hit 2 more bases. So they actually said that they may have actually hit 2 more air bases. At least one of them, they said, damaging planes. And then we have, of course, Germany. So an update on this Germany story. So we talked about this last night or the night before, but in Germany, there was a German base, a military base that they actually had thought that somebody had gone in, cut the fence, walked in, cut all of the lines, power lines to a certain building, and then gone in. And again, that part was not confirmed. What was confirmed is that they were trying to tamper with the water facility, the infrastructure for their water. And they were trying to actually make it so it was lethal, I believe. It said the alleged incidents involved attempts to contaminate drinking water at the Bundeswehr base in Cologne 1 and a NATO airfield in Gelenkeren. So actually 2 locations is from what I read. At the Cologne 1 base, a hole was discovered in the fence indicating a possible security breach. However, the individuals responsible have not been identified. At the time of this, we were talking about how they were basically told to look for anybody suspicious and to pull them over, to grab them and to ask if they weren't recognized. So that is exactly what they did. And according to the public or whatever information we got, nobody got caught. So they got in and out. It was probably some sort of high-end op. So, but they got caught, or at least they caught it before it did damage. And then Venezuela. So this is one of the biggest deals, and I believe that it has a connection to China, to Cuba, to Russia and Ukraine, to Iran, to obviously all of these countries that are North Korea, and all of these countries that are now teaming up against us. As you guys know, Maduro, there was a lot of arguments whether he actually won or not, and he should still be ruling the country. Half of the country, or actually more than half, they actually did exiting polls that showed that 70% said that they wanted the other person, the opponent. Now they're saying that fallout is surging from the Venezuela Pick the Prez Day, and the region fears another mass exodus. Now check this out. The numbers they're talking about are absolutely crazy. President Nicolas Maduro's claim of victory in the recent Pick the Prez Day has sparked widespread uncertainty in Venezuela and fears of further international isolation. The contested Pick the Prez Day has raised concerns about a new wave of Venezuelan migration. Basically saying that all of these people that do not want to live another however many years under Maduro are actually going to pick up and leave. Now, we know that they are saying that over 7 million have left because of previously basically dealing with whatever is going on there in a socialist, socialist country, that 7 million have left. And a lot of them have come here. We know this if you actually look at several documentaries. You can go and from what it seems, it's like 9 out of 10 people that you ask are from Venezuela. We also know that Iran and other countries are actually sending people through Venezuela. Not only that, China is actually having people go directly through Venezuela, and then they go on this kind of march and train all the way through the Darien Gap and up through, of course, all the way through to Mexico and then up through our southern border. Now they're talking about a huge, huge number. And this is a huge number that's going to happen in a short amount of time. And I'm guaranteeing you these guys aren't going to be like, let's leave this country and let's all go to Tijuana. I bet you they're going to come here. Just saying. Neighboring countries like Colombia, Peru, Chile, and Brazil are bracing for a potential increase in Venezuelan migrants. Over 7.7 million Venezuelans have already fled the country due to economic collapse. So again, they had horrible things happen there. They had crazy, crazy hyperinflation where you could have a suitcase full of money and it wouldn't buy you a roll of toilet paper. It was absolutely horrible. They had blackouts. They had all sorts of craziness. I think it was Venezuela that had this crazy thing where even like the zoo, all the animals were just like abandoned. I think that was Venezuela. I hope that wasn't Brazil. But again, there's been tons and tons of stories over the last 3 years about Venezuela and how crazy bad it got. In Peru, local workers, particularly in the informal sector, are concerned about increased competition for jobs due to an influx of Venezuelan migrants. Authorities in Chile, Peru, and Brazil have begun to increase border security in response to the potential surge in migration. Chile has announced the acquisition of thermal cameras to monitor illegal crossings and considering deploying additional forces in its borders. Anti-migrant sentiments have been growing in the region with the past incidents of violence against Venezuelan migrants, such as the torching of a Venezuelan encampment in Chile. A new survey by Venezuelan polling, this is important, a new survey by Venezuelan polling firm Magnalicious indicates that more than 40% of Venezuelans are considering leaving the country due to the escalating violent repression by the Nicolas Maduro regime. 40%. Again, that's a huge number if there's any truth to this. And this isn't like the people that are getting on Twitter and saying, oh, if JB wins or if Kamala wins, I'm leaving the country, or if T-Man wins, I'm leaving the country. They're actually dealing with horrible scenarios down in of course, Venezuela. It is really bad. It's the warning, the warning flag to the United States. The United States used Venezuela as an example of what we could go through. So really, really horrible. And it was just recently compared with this whole situation with who actually won. But the survey conducted between August 8th and 11th suggested that around 600,000 people could leave before mid-September. So in just the next couple months, 600,000 would start on a train out of there if this is even remotely true, or even if a percentage of this is true. We're talking about a giant number that are all of a sudden going to join that group of people that are heading up in those bands of people coming towards us. Some people support that some of these folks just need a better life. Again, there's systems set up in every country to handle people to legally come in. If people come in and they have no records, they have no jobs, they have no social, they have none of this, and they come in as illegals, it basically puts a strain on whatever country they're in. And we've seen this time and time again We've seen this in European countries all over the world. And these European countries right now that have had people coming in and they claim that Russia is sending them or this is sending them, whoever's sending them, you can see other countries are actually being extremely, extremely strict with it, way harder on their border security than we are, closing down whole border, sections. And even entrances, they're just saying, nope, we're just closing it down. Meanwhile, we have whole areas where you could just walk across and get yourself a sandwich. You have people pulling up on jet skis and ski-doos and basically walking onto a beach full of tourists, and they're all cheering them on like, welcome to America. I mean, that's the craziness of here. Mind you, in Venezuela, you have tons of sleeper cells from Iran, from other countries that are coming in. Now, some of this, some might even think like, oh, you're just, paranoid about sleeper cells and things like this. There's data to back it up. So there's actual data to back up that a percentage of these guys are not bad. They're not like the worst. They're the worst of the worst. They are the most horrible, horrible criminals you've ever seen, buried into all of these other folks. So again, not all of these people are bad. Some of them just want to live their life and they want to find a place to raise their family and all that. But again, there's a percentage, and that percentage on numbers like we're talking, that's a big number. That's an army. If this predicted exodus occurred, it would add approximately 10.4 million people to the existing displacement crisis, which has already seen over 7.7 Venezuelans flee their country over the past decade. So that is just incredible. And that's 7.7 million over the past decade. All of these folks are looking at the next however many years. I don't know how long their terms are, but they're looking at Maduro getting worse, and they're saying, we want to get the hell out of here. So yeah, and again, and we don't know what is confirmed about what is all happening right now, but there was a tweet, and we looked and we could not see if this was, we believe that this was actually a day before a lot of this came out or a lot of this was published. There was a tweet by Jennifer Lynn Lawrence. Now let me see if I can actually show you this tweet. I might be able to switch this around. So let me see if I can. Let's see. No, I don't think I will. So there's a tweet here, and I'm going to read this to you. It says, I have a friend who is down in Mexico and crosses the border often. He is telling me that over 300,000 Venezuelan have arrived today in Tijuana alone. It says when he went to cross the U.S. border, this is what he told me. They didn't even ask to identify document or passport. They were just waving everyone on. Really weird. What the hell is happening? Now remember this, there's no way to confirm this stuff. Like this is a tweet. It got a huge amount of attention. But what's crazy is that if this was done before all of that, then that would kind of confirm some of this. This is talking about a giant number of Venezuelans right after they have this whole dispute where 70% want this one president and they end up getting the other. Again, that 70% was based on these exit polls, and they said that, oh, no, we won, you didn't. So again, that link is going to be on the website in the morning. Again, there's going to be a full bibliography with all of the sources for everything I used in this video. So you can find that in the morning when all of this information gets uploaded. So again, crazy all over the world happening. Make sure to tune in tomorrow to our show. Of course, I got to set up again all of my stuff. So I won't say a time yet because I don't know how long it's going to take me to reset up everything. But again, you need to join us if you can, because there's lots happening. Every minute there's something new coming out. So make sure to hit the subscribe, but also hit that notification bell to all. Thank you for those that you supported. Again, if I missed a super, I will make sure to get to it in tomorrow's long form show. And then make sure to go check out EMP Shield, marfooglenews.com/EMP. Highly recommend protecting yourself against an EMP. I don't think we're going to get nuked out of the water. I don't think there will be a mutually assured destruction. I think that they're going to go for our power grid. And I've thought this for a very long time. It doesn't actually take any lives initially by itself, but it's going to knock down the grid. Everything is preserved, at least the stuff that doesn't get, Molotoved, but everything will still be preserved for later down the road. They can fix all of it. But in the first year, they say 90% of us would perish, and that would be because we don't have water infrastructure. Water infrastructure is one of the hugest parts of our survival. That's why you should have extra water, extra food, and you should have yourself just slowly, day by day or week by week, trying to get just a little bit at a time if that's all you can do. Make sure to go, again, check out the EMP Shield. It's the same device that's helping protect, the Texas grid, DHS, DOD, tons and tons of great companies are now using it. And now Fugel fam are saying that they are seeing it go up on certain transformers. So make sure to go check it out, marfugelnews.com/EMP. You can protect your cars, trucks, motorcycles, boats, and pretty much everything else. I will see you guys later, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thank you. Thank you for being patient in between shows. Again, I'm back at home. I'm not on the road anymore. Be safe, be prepared. Marf out.